Everyone, it's Mari. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to bring you my very first project as part of the Vicki Boutin design team using her amazing Storyteller collection. If you have not seen this collection yet, it is absolutely stunning, and I am going to be creating this layout that you can see here today for you. I'm going to take you through the entire process, and I'm going to just show you here that I'm going to start off with a piece of the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper, and what I am going to do is just measure off where the center of my page is so that I have that, just that spot showing me how I can line up my photos here. And I'm also just showing you how really awesome this foundations paper is. It's super, super thick, and it's really great for mixed media. And I love the paper. It is absolutely fantastic. Now I am going to take my T-square ruler here, like I said, and I'm just going to mark the center vertically and horizontally. Because of how I'm going to be justifying my photos, I want to have that reference point to see where the center of my paper is. And in that way, it will just allow me to place all of the mixed media and where the photos are going to go and all of that good stuff. So you can just see that I'm just going ahead making a really slight little pencil mark here, and then I will be ready to go ahead and start adding my mixed media. So I am just going to show you here. At this point, I'm thinking I'm going to put my photos where I have them there. I actually end up changing my mind later, but this is kind of like the basic gist of what I wanted to do for my design. I have printed my photos at 3 by 3, and as you can see, they're black and white. And I wanted to kind of create this panel of mixed media through the center, just where I'm showing you there, for the base for my layout. And I love Vicki's mixed media line. It is beautiful. It is just full of beautiful products, and the art crayons are so fun to create with. I wanted to use some of the blue art crayon to create the background here today, and I'm going to just go ahead and use my distress sprayer to activate the crayon that I have scribbled out on a piece of acetate. And I'm going to just get that all, mixed together and activated here. You can just see that I'm going to go ahead and get that nice and liquefied. And then I'm going to take my brayer and add that pigment to my foundations paper with that brayer. Now, I have not used any gesso on my foundations paper. This paper is made to take mixed media, and I'm not going to be using a ton of water, but I'm going to use a little bit. And the amount that I'm using here is not going to cause any problems for the integrity of this super thick paper. So I'm just going to go ahead here. You can just see me picking that pigment up with my brayer, and then I'm rolling it on. Super fun, super easy way to add some pigment to my foundations paper. Once I've got the majority of that on there, I'm actually going to pick the acetate up, and I'm going to add a little bit more liquid, and I'm going to go ahead then and just drip that pigment onto my layout in that way. And that's just going to create a little bit more detail and interest with my background here as well. So I also want to add some splatters, so I'm just going to pick up that watercolor brush there. I'm going to go ahead and splatter more of that color, more of that blue pigment onto my foundations paper here. And just going to continue that now with a smaller brush just to vary the sizes of the droplets that I'm adding with my splatters. And I'm just kind of shielding the splatter here with my hand because I don't want it to go all over my desk. So I'm just going to continue that process here and just go ahead and get that blue pigment in a variety of spots here on my foundations paper. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love to create my own backgrounds. This is totally my style of crafting and creating a layout. Love using mixed media on white paper to start my process. I oftentimes don't even really have a plan for the design. I just have so much fun creating these backgrounds. And so this is just, like I said, it's just something, it's a process that I absolutely love. Now I'm just going to take my paper towel and go ahead and sop up some of that water. Now, for people that like their pigment to be a little bit darker, you probably want to just let that dry and not soak up the extra moisture with your paper towel, but I wanted it to be just a little bit lighter. Now, this is my favorite paper from the Storyteller collection. It's the Daisies paper, and that was the inspiration for my color palette here today. This is one of the new stencils from Storyteller, and I wanted to go ahead and add a little bit of yellow. You're going to see me adding 2 other colors of the art crayons to this blend. So I'm going to add a little bit of orange, and then I'll add a little bit of the brownish red color. And I'm just going to layer them on top of each other here using this stencil and my Vicki Boutin stencil brush. The stencil brush is one of my most used tools in my craft space. I absolutely love it. And this is a dry brush method here. My stencil brush is dry. I'm just picking up that pigment from that art crayon over there off the acetate. And I'm going ahead and I'm just running it through that stencil, and it just creates this really fun texture that you can go ahead and continue to add more layers on top of, and it's just going to be super pretty when I'm all finished. And I'm just going to move my stencil around a little bit and go ahead and add more of that stenciling to different areas here. Kind of wanted to go with a diagonal here with the top left and the bottom right corners of the area where I have my blue art crayon in the background that I added with my brayer. And just going to go ahead and continue to blend on this color with my dry stencil brush. So I'm really loving how that's looking. And now I want to take the stamp set from Storyteller. This stamp set is absolutely stunning. I'm going to show you here up close. All of the different little parts, the petals on that large rose there, that large cabbage rose, has different, like there's text and different designs and patterns in all of the different petals. It's so detailed and it's so cool. I wanted to use the leaf though for this project here today, and I'm going to use some of Vicki's gold pigment ink. If you don't have this specific ink, you can use any gold ink if you want to go for this same look, and it is just going to leave a really cool impression on my project. And I don't have to re-ink this every time. I'm just going to do like 2nd and 3rd generation stamping here. And this leaf is really awesome because it has text in it, and if you look at it, the text is in French, and it's just really, really super cool. I love it. So I'm going to, right now, I'm just going to stamp out those 4 leaves. I go in a little bit later and stamp out another leaf in that bottom corner just because my photo is covering it up a little bit. Now this is the 8x6 paper pad that's part of Storyteller as well. It has 24 sheets in it. These sheets are all double-sided, which is genius. If you're working in a mini album, for example, your papers will have a pattern on them on both sides. And I love the color palette. I love the patterns in this collection. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I wanted to use this paper here that has the text on it to matte my photos here today. I love just how this texture the text on this paper is just really subtle, but you can see there, it just adds just a little bit of extra detail to that photo matte layer. I love that. And I love how the paper is really distressed looking as well. Before I matte that photo though, I want to go ahead and take this text stencil. This is one of the new stencils as well. And I want to add some of the iridescent glaze through this stencil to add a little bit of texture. I'm feeling like I need a little bit more dimension in my base on my layout here for my base layer. I just want to go ahead and layer on top of the layers that I have so far with something that's a little bit more dimensional. And this glaze is going to dry very dimensional. It depends on how thick you get it on there, how much dimension you get. But what I really also love about this stencil too is not just that it's the text, but also there's little shapes in there. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's like little hearts and stars and whatnot, and they show up really well once you get that glaze drawn through that stencil. It just is a really cool look. So I'm just using my Vicki Boutin palette knife here just to go ahead and scrape some of that glaze over top of the open areas of the stencil. And I'm going to go ahead and lift that up, and then I will let that dry. before I go on to my next step. I am going to go ahead and wash my stencil and my my palette knife really well here so that that Creative Effects doesn't dry on there. And now I'm just taking some tissue paper. I'm going to add a layer of tissue paper behind my photo first, and then I'm going to add the layer of that patterned paper after that. So just going to go ahead and trim that off a little bit, and I will go ahead and get the get this put together here. So I'm going to add a little bit of craft foam behind my photo here just to add a little bit more dimension to it. So just go ahead and take the backing off that craft foam. This is just some cheapy Walmart craft foam or Michael's. You can get this wherever you get kids crafting supplies. And just going to add that tissue paper layer to that foam. And I'll go ahead and add that with just a little bit of really strong tape runner. This is the Glue Glider Pro tape runner that is just going to be really super strong, and it's going to hold that foam adhesive to that pattern paper. I'm going to just go ahead and trim this off with my scissors. I'm not worried about it being straight because I am going to distress it with my distressing tool. And I like doing that just because I feel like it just adds a little bit of extra texture to the paper. Just going to make sure all my layers are adhered together here, and just take that distressing tool and go ahead and distress this. And I really like how this looks when it's all finished. And I'm not actually going to show you layering the second photo because I do exactly the same thing to it, but I'm just, going ahead and folding over the corners and just taking my finger, roughing it up a little bit more. But this is where I want to put the photo. And honestly, this twine heart wreath is my favorite die cut piece from all of the die cuts, and there's a lot of die cuts, guys. There's tons of die cuts in these die cut packs, but I just really loved that, and I wanted to work it into one of the open areas on this layout so that it can just be a little showpiece beside one of the photos. Now I'm going to go ahead and layer up a bunch of the die cut pieces from the collection over on the side. I'm going to show you as I go through here the different pieces I'm going to use. I don't want to use this whole daisy because half of it's going to be behind the photo anyway, so I just cut it in half. Look at that vellum tag, you guys, with that metallic gold foil on it. I absolutely love that piece. And I'm going to just layer that behind the daisy piece. Like I said, I cut the daisy in half. I'll use one half of the daisy on the one photo and the other half on the other photo. In that way, I'll conserve my daisies because I absolutely love them. They're so pretty. This is one of the little ticket pieces in the ephemera. Love these little bits. They're so much fun. Vicki's die cut packs are always full of the best little bits and pieces. And I want to use this blue piece up here at the top with the pink vellum tag. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim that off and conserve that extra little piece of tag for another project there. So whenever I can, I always like to trim my ephemera, my die cuts, where they're going to be in behind something just to conserve the pieces. And in that way, you'll have lots of extra pieces for other projects. Now I'm just going to go ahead and pop that daisy up on a little piece of that craft foam again. I'll leave a little piece of the adhesive of that craft foam sticking out so that that will actually stick to the photo. And now you're just seeing me here. I'm just adjusting the placement of those different ephemera bits over to the left of that photograph. Now you'll notice that I'm putting my photos on an angle here. I just think that looks interesting. And I like that look, and I often do that. I'll do it sometimes with my thickers or different little bits of things I'm adding to a layout just to make it look a little bit more interesting. And so that's the method to my madness here. So I'm going to add that bottom photo there, and then look at that wreath, you guys. Oh my gosh, that heart wreath is just everything. I love it. I think it's just stunning on this layout. It's so sweet. And then I go back later and add some darker blue splatters just to bring out that navy flower that's on the side of that vine wreath there. So I'm just going to go ahead, like I did with the other little ephemera grouping on the top photo, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the bottom photo. So just trying to create a little bit of symmetry in that way with the two little embellishment clusters, one on each side of the photo. Just going to go ahead and add some foam adhesive here with that craft foam to that daisy. And there you can see how I only used one daisy, and now I have more daisies for other projects. I just love those. They're so sweet. Now this is actually the manufacturer strip off of the daisy paper, because we don't want to use any more of the daisy paper than we absolutely have to on each one of the layouts, because I'm conserving the daisy paper, which is really silly. I have plenty of it to use, and you'll be seeing it on lots of the different layouts for sure. But I just wanted a little strip of paper, so why not use the manufacturer strip, right? So I trimmed that off, and I'm going to adhere it to that left side. And I'm just showing you here how I'm just finishing up that bottom photo there. And now I'm just kind of looking at what else I could add. I knew that I wanted to add my journaling in that area where I'm putting those chipboard hearts. So I just wanted to kind of create sort of like a little focal point there. These are the chipboard sheets. Oh my gosh, you guys, they're so awesome. There's so many wonderful little bits of chipboard. And I wanted to line these little gold hearts up here, these little gold foil hearts. And that's kind of going to be like a little header piece, a little spot to draw your attention to that area. And then that's where the journaling is going to be on my layout. So really loving how this is coming together. I just like the combination of the colors. It's really soft, which is really my style. I don't go as often for really bold mixed media. I'm usually a little bit lighter touch. And I really like the soft nature of this layout. I think it's really super pretty. Now I'm just showing you how I've pretty much covered up the other leaf, and I want to make sure that I still have a second leaf showing in that bottom section there. So I'm just going to go ahead and ink up that leaf again. And I'm just going to lift the photo up, and I'm just going to go ahead and stamp another leaf down there. And I'm really happy with how that looks. This is the sticker book. Oh my gosh, you guys, the sticker book is so full of awesomeness. There's so many of these little phrase stickers. And I think it was in Vicki's very, very first collection. She had one of these. If it wasn't her first collection, it was her second collection. But I have been in love with these things ever since. And I love to add them to the side of a photo. I think they're so cool. And it's so easy to match up one of these phrases with a photo because there's tons of them. So I just really liked the ones that I picked here for these specific photographs and what's happening here. So just really happy with these little phrase stickers. They're just so good, so good. I'm going to grab another one, going to put it on the side of the bottom photo there. And that's just going to add just a really sweet little detail, a little bit of extra documentation and emphasis to the story that's happening here on these two photos. And then that die cut piece at the bottom, I'm not going to leave it where it is there, but I'm definitely going to use that at the bottom. I love that. I love the size of it and the orientation of it for the layout and for that specific spot. Now I'm going to grab a couple of the little heart stickers from the sticker sheet from that sticker book, and I'm going to add a glue dot to the back of each of the hearts that I'm going to use there, just to bump them up a little bit off the layout. I don't want too much dimension on them, but just enough to bring them up off of my different little layered areas here. So I'm just going to add these in with my tweezers. And I love these because they've kind of got a little bit of foiling on them and they just sparkle and shine, but they're soft, right? So that one that I added there is just a really soft pink, so pretty, so soft and lovely. And then this one is just that teal color that's going to match up with the other teal tones that are on the layout as well. So love it, love it, love it, love it. Gorgeous. Going to add that in there. So that is going to finish up the layering in the die cut areas, the ephemera areas. And then I'm just going to add that die cut piece on with a little bit of foam adhesive. And I'm going to add some journaling strips. And these I've just printed out. I just typed them in Microsoft Word, printed them out on my computer, and then used my guillotine trimmer to trim them up into strips. Now you can just see I'm using my tweezers there. I'm just going to adhere these down with a little bit of liquid adhesive. That's my Honeybee Stamps glue tube there that I'm adding this on to my layout with. I am going to use my T-square ruler to make sure that I have that first one straight. It's always good to make sure that you have the first one straight, because if you have that one straight, there's a really good chance your other strips are going to be straight as well. So I'm going to go ahead, get that one added on there, and then I'm going to add the subsequent other strips. There's only 3 strips of journaling here, and I'm going to go ahead and add that on, and that will almost finish up my layout. I'm going to add some splatters of some darker blue in some darker blue art crayon here to finish up the layout. And I'm actually going to show you the washi tapes that are part of the Storyteller collection. If you haven't seen those yet, they are just absolutely so good. I love them. And I'm going to add a little piece of washi tape onto my layout here in a minute. So that is just about it, but you can see that I've got a little bit of darker blue kind of swatched out there on a piece of cardstock to the right. And I'm just going to go ahead and splatter this on. I want to cover up my photos. I don't really want to get art crayon splattered on them. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and I am going to add some splatters in that darker blue. Really love how that looks. I like how it brings out that darker blue and that darker blue flower up top. And it's just going to look really pretty. And just going to finish that up. I'm going to dab some of those up before they dry super dark in some of the places. And you can just see me dabbing that up, just about finished. I had so much fun creating this layout. It was absolutely a dream to work with this collection. This collection's absolutely stunning. I will leave links to the products that I've used in my process in the description box below, so make sure you check that out. And I will be working with Storyteller every week here on YouTube, so make sure you tune in for more Storyteller inspiration. And loving this collection so much. It is absolutely beautiful. Just going to finish up that splattering, get rid of that little card there. And I want to show you the washi tapes. You're going to see a little transition here, and I'm going to show you up close here as well, all the details of the layout. It's just, I really love how this turned out. I think it's super pretty. I also added a little bit of sewing with my sewing machine along that little daisy strip along the left edge. And here you can just see a little bit of that gold washi tape peeking out underneath that Enjoy Every Moment die cut piece. This is the gold washi that I used in that spot. It's one of my favorite washis. I love this washi. It's so pretty. And this is the whole set of washi tape that's part of Storyteller. Look at that little measuring tape washi. That's genius. I love it. So that's the washi, and that's my layout, and I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you leave me a comment in the description, in the comment section below, and I hope to see you here next time on my channel when I'm creating with the beautiful Vicki Boutin Storyteller collection. And here you can just see I'm showing you the rest of the details with that stunning washi tape. It's so beautiful. Have an amazing day, guys. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.